I've got some side-to-side play, which I understand is normal. I do have a little side-to-side play, but there's no walk, there's no up-down play. So there's a little side-to-side movement in the rod bearings. You know, I want to get some input on that, of course, and Texas Speed validate that, make sure that you know, that's what it's supposed to be. But the whammy is right there. Look at that. Completely cracked into crankshaft. Split right into. And I have never seen that happen. Never seen a crank crack like that. So I'm a little concerned that maybe the crank I got was a refurbished crank. Maybe had a stress fracture in there, because this car was only driven 3,000 miles and hardly driven hard at all. I mean, I just made a dozen or so hard passes on it, which this should just not even remotely like even just struggle with that. I mean, this engine is supposed to be rated at 1,400 wheel horsepower. I'm nowhere near that. And look at that. Look at that. And this cracked on me while I was driving normal, by the way. In fact, it went on me while I was on the lift. Actually, I just put a new LT4 bearing in, fixing a front seal leak, put in a new K-Tech high flow oil pump, and put it on the lift, cranked it up. Everything sounded great. I revved it 3,000 or so, like I always do, to kind of check for a little bit of more oil leaks. I checked for oil pressure issues, all of that. And right when I revved it to 3,000, I heard a clunk and immediately shut the car down, because I knew that was just, I knew it was bad instantly. And I had to yank the dang motor completely out of the car, of course, to figure out. I could have pulled the pan under the car and done this, but I knew it had internal damage. So I had no way around this. I've got to fix this issue. So I believe I got to look at my stuff, my spec sheet. I know this was a $10,000 short block. So it's got, you know, CP Carrillo pistons. It's got the Texas Super I-beam billet rods, which is one of their better I-beam billet rods to hold high horsepower, which weren't cheap. And then it's got their Texas Speed stroker crank, which I am wondering if that maybe is where I went wrong. I thought I had a Callie's crank in there, but I don't think I do. I did have to shave the snout down, you know, like that's what you have to do for these aftermarket cranks. I don't know what they do. They probably machine it and make their own stroker cranks, but I am just not too fond of what happened here with, I mean, look at the condition of the motor. I mean, everything else is absolutely beautiful. No heat marks, nothing else. I went over the entire engine, the pistons, the skirts, everything, no scoring in the cylinders. Everything is great. The crank was just the weak point. So I'm very let down, honestly. I spent a lot of money on this short block to not have these issues. And 3,000 miles later, here I am with these issues. And I've got buddies with stock engines still now pushing, you know, 1,000 horsepower with no problems. So I feel like, you know, these things sort of have plagued me. This is the second time I've had to pull this motor, so I'm extremely frustrated. You know, I've spent a lot of money with Texas Speed, and I'm hoping that they will come through and help me out in getting this thing resolved, because I'm not happy at all. I really am not. I mean, it'd be one thing if I abused this engine, but I mean, this is my baby. This car, I have done every bolt turn on this car from the inception, from the Holley port to the Pro Charger, secondary fuel. Everything on this car I've done by myself, including engine installs, uninstalls, you name it, I've done it. Triple disc clutch installs, headers, custom, you know, custom dedicated oil coolers. I'm for all the work and effort and money and time I put into this car. This one thing I only cared about was having a reliable short block. So I did not have to worry about having to go into this engine ever again. Worst case, update valve guides, valve wear, that kind of just basic stuff, right? But, I'm just extremely disappointed with that right there. Very disappointed. That's just I don't know. I've never seen that happen. And and how I was even driving it, it just makes no, I'm just really let down. So, I guess my plans, I'll talk to Texas Speed. Hopefully they will be good to me. They were certainly good to me when I was spending money there. So let's see if they'll be good to me, what they can do. And I'm going to pull all the main caps off. I'm going to pull all the rod bolts off, label everything, put it all in the right order. I'm going to order all new rod bearings. I think the crank bearings are ACL 0.001 over ACL bearings. I think the rod bearings are possibly Clevite or Durabond. I think the cam bearings are Durabond. These are Clevite, and the main bearings and the thrust bearing are ACL bearings. So any input on that, greatly appreciated. I've been thinking of looking at King bearings. King's has a nice set of crank bearings for 001 over. So some input on that would be great. Like what bearings really should I go back with this motor? Texas Speed recommends ACL crank, Clevite rod, and Durabond cam. So any input on that would be great, and any input on this crankshaft and maybe what Texas Speed should do for me. I mean, I don't know. I'm not expecting things for free, but I do expect, at least them to help me out. Maybe help me get something at cost. I don't know, because I just got this motor in this car. I've barely driven it, and it's just, for the amount of money I spent, I sure expected more than 3,000 miles out of a just daily driven, car like this. So, I mean, I drove my stock engine 50 times harder than I drove this, and it's disappointing. So, and I'm sure if you guys spent that much money on a short block, you'd feel the same way. And it's not just the money, it's not all that, it's the time. I mean, the amount of effort I have spent trying to fix issues on this damn engine, from oil pressure issues, even having, these issues now with this motor. I'm frustrated, and I want it right. I want the car right. And you can see, if I pull on this, if I look at the crank snout, you can see now, there's my wobble. Right there. There's my wobble. And you can tell in the back, from the back rear main seal, which looks like it's okay. There's some oil back here, but I had a front main go, so a lot of oil got everywhere, so it's kind of hard to tell. But I'm going to do a new rear main seal anyway, which I mean, pulling the crank, yeah, of course you will. But there's no play towards the rest of the crank. So fortunately, I mean, because this could have been really bad. If I was driving this car when this went, it would have shredded this. It would have bent the rods. I mean, it just would have been a disaster. So very, very fortunate I was able to catch this while on the lift during first crank ups, after doing the high flow oil pump. So count my blessings there that it's not worse. But again, side to side rod play, from what I understand, is okay, as long as you don't have the top down play, like bearings wear. And I've lost bearings in my last motor. I've lost rod bearings, and you can tell. I mean, they move around like it's just nobody's business. So, but that's it. That's my report. So wish me luck, guys. I mean, everyone that knows me knows I've been through hell with this car. And, all I wanted to do from day one was just build a car myself, a big build, that was just fun to do, fun to enjoy, be able to experience, you know, all the pleasure of that. And unfortunately, you know, the more money I've spent, the more of these damn problems I keep running into, which, you know, you think you throw a lot of money into a highly built, by a professional company lower end, you'd get more than 3,000 miles out of it, especially with the driving the way I was driving. So it's just, I'm really frustrated. And I know I've said that a million times, but yeah. So I'm going to post this, link it to YouTube and to my account, and you know, see if I can get some feedback from you guys. I know everyone's been so great helping me and following all the journeys, and, you know, me trying to give back, helping, you know, with all the install videos and custom stuff that I've done to try and help others. I'm hoping this time around I'll get a little help here, so would be nice. All right. Thank you guys for watching. Take care.